You know that feeling when you're watching someone else live your life? Not metaphorically, literally. Like sitting in your studio apartment with the radiator that sounds like a dying walrus, watching your ex-best friend on TechCrunch TV explaining his revolutionary idea to some perfectly coiffed host who's probably never debugged a line of code in her life. That was me 3 months ago. Jeremy Caldwell, 32, professional disappointment, watching Darren Matthews, former best friend, current CEO of BridgeSpark Industries, pitch my goddamn app idea to investors. My idea. The one I'd sketched out on napkins during our Thursday night gaming sessions. The one I'd coded the first prototype for in my bedroom while he was busy trying to get verified on Twitter. SparkBridge, a platform connecting freelance creatives with startups for micro-collaborations. Built-in escrow, portfolio integration, reputation scoring. Simple, elegant, mine. Except now it was called BridgeSpark, had a logo that probably cost more than my rent, and was valued at $12 million. And Darren was wearing a suit that actually fit. I hate it when people say revenge is a dish best served cold. That's not revenge, that's leftovers. Real revenge is a slow-cooked meal. You marinate it, you season it, you let all those flavors develop until it's so perfect, so nuanced, that Gordon Ramsay himself would weep. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how this started. 2 years ago, Darren and I were both broke, both grinding, both convinced we were going to change the world with our next big idea. We'd meet every Thursday at this dive bar called Murphy's. Sticky floors, watered-down beer, and a jukebox that only played songs from 1987. Perfect place to dream big and aim low. I'd been freelancing for 3 years, doing everything from WordPress sites for yoga instructors to React components for crypto startups. Darren was in business development, which, as far as I could tell, meant he sent a lot of LinkedIn messages and occasionally wore a blazer to Starbucks. But we clicked, you know? Same sense of humor, same taste in terrible sci-fi movies, same belief that we were destined for something bigger than our current circumstances. That's when I told him about SparkBridge. Picture this. You're a startup. You need a logo, but you don't want to hire a full-time designer. You need someone to write copy for your landing page, but you don't need a whole agency. You want to test a mobile app idea, but you can't afford a development team. Enter SparkBridge, micro-collaborations. Freelancers could offer specific skills for specific projects. Startups could browse, compare, and hire for exactly what they needed. Built-in escrow meant everyone got paid. Portfolio integration meant quality control. Reputation scoring meant trust. I had wireframes. I had user stories. I had a working prototype that could handle basic project matching. Darren listened, nodded, asked good questions. Then he said the words that should have been my first red flag. This is too niche, man. You're overthinking it. Too niche. Right. Because apparently connecting talented people with opportunities is niche. But I trusted him. 15 years of friendship, high school gaming marathons, college road trips. He was the best man at my sister's wedding, for Christ's sake. So when he suggested I workshop it more before doing anything serious, I listened. Big mistake. 2 months later, Darren stopped returning my calls, stopped showing up to Murphy's. His LinkedIn went from business development professional to founder and CEO, BridgeSpark Industries. Same platform, same features, same basic UI flow I'd mocked up. Even the goddamn color scheme was similar. And the name? BridgeSpark. SparkBridge backwards, like he couldn't even be bothered to be creative about stealing from me. Within 6 months, he had angel funding. Within a year, he had VC backing. By 18 months, TechCrunch was calling him the rising star of the gig economy revolution. Me? I was still building WordPress sites for chiropractors. But here's the thing about me that Darren never understood. I don't get angry. I get curious. See, while he was busy being the face of his company, giving interviews and doing podcast tours, I was doing what I do best, digging into systems. Because Darren's the kind of guy who uses password 123 for everything and thinks two-factor authentication is too much hassle. So I started with the basics, social engineering. Nothing illegal, just thorough research. His company website was built on WordPress, ironically considering he'd mocked my freelance work. Standard installation, default admin structure, and because apparently God has a sense of humor, the same password pattern he'd used since college. Getting into BridgeSpark's backend was easier than getting into a community college. And once I was in, well, Darren had been busy. Slack conversations with investors where he took credit for revolutionary UI/UX insights, email threads where he described the breakthrough moment when he conceived the platform architecture, board meeting notes where he positioned himself as the technical visionary behind the entire concept. But the real treasure was in a folder labeled Legal Stuff Do Not Delete. You know what was in there? NDAs, partnership agreements, employment contracts, and buried in the middle? The original pitch deck I'd sent him 2 years ago, with my name on it, with timestamps proving I'd created it months before his first official company documents. But I didn't stop there. See, Darren had made another mistake. He'd made his wife, Rebecca, the company's chief operating officer. And Rebecca used her personal Gmail for company business. Same password as Darren, same security questions, same complete disregard for basic cybersecurity. And Rebecca's inbox was a goldmine. Turns out, BridgeSpark wasn't just stealing my idea. They were cutting corners everywhere, using unlicensed software, misrepresenting user metrics to investors. And here's the kicker. They were scraping user data from their own platform and selling it to third-party analytics companies, without user consent, including data from users under 18. Yeah, they weren't just stealing ideas, they were stealing from kids. But the crown jewel? A series of emails between Darren and Rebecca discussing how to manage the Jeremy situation if I ever figured things out. Spoiler alert, I'd figured things out. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I started planning. Phase 1 was simple: documentation. I created an encrypted backup of everything. Every email, every Slack message, every illegal data transaction, all time-stamped, all verified, all legally admissible. Phase 2 was patience. I waited, I watched, I let BridgeSpark grow bigger, more visible, more vulnerable. Because here's the thing about stealing someone's work: the higher you climb, the farther you fall. Phase 3 was execution. I started with the tech blogs, not TechCrunch, too mainstream. I went for the indie publications, the ones with hungry journalists who specialized in startup scandals. Anonymous tips, leaked documents, carefully curated evidence packages that told a story so compelling, so well documented that fact-checkers would salivate. But I didn't just leak everything at once. That's amateur hour. Instead, I created a narrative arc. First leak: BridgeSpark's illegal data practices, screenshots of the third-party sales agreements, evidence of underage user data being monetized. The story broke on a Tuesday. By Thursday, they were trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. Second leak 2 weeks later: the stolen IP documentation. My original pitch deck, timestamped and verified alongside Darren's original concepts. This one hit harder, because now it wasn't just about privacy violations, it was about fraud. Third leak: the cover-up. Those emails between Darren and Rebecca discussing how to manage me, how to discredit me if I ever came forward. By now, the story had legs. Real journalists were digging, investors were asking questions, users were deleting accounts. But I wasn't done. See, I'd discovered something interesting about Rebecca. She wasn't just Darren's wife and business partner. She was also a compliance officer at her previous job, which meant she absolutely knew that what they were doing was illegal, which meant she was complicit, which meant she was vulnerable. So I did something beautiful. I made it look like she was the whistleblower. Anonymous tip to the Federal Trade Commission, leaked from her IP address. Email to a class action attorney, sent from her personal account. Social media posts questioning the company's practices, posted during her usual online hours. Within 48 hours, Darren was convinced his own wife was sabotaging him. The company collapsed faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. FTC investigation, class action lawsuit, investor lawsuits, criminal referrals. Darren lost everything. Company, house, wife. Rebecca filed for divorce and claimed she'd been trying to blow the whistle for months. And me? I just watched from the sidelines, updating my LinkedIn and working on my own projects. Last month, I finally launched SparkBridge, the real SparkBridge, built properly with actual user protections and genuine innovation. We hit 10,000 users in the first 2 weeks. TechCrunch wanted to interview me about the emerging trend in ethical freelance platforms. I declined. Too mainstream. But the best part? 2 weeks ago, I got a LinkedIn message from someone at a VC firm. They wanted to discuss funding opportunities for SparkBridge. The message was forwarded from their due diligence team, who'd been researching the freelance collaboration space and had specifically noted how my platform learned from the mistakes and ethical failures of previous market entrants. Translation: they'd done their homework on BridgeSpark, realized it was trash, and wanted to invest in the real thing. I accepted the meeting. Not because I need their money. SparkBridge is profitable and growing organically. But because during my research, I discovered something interesting. That same VC firm had been BridgeSpark's lead investor. And I want to look them in the eye when I tell them they backed the wrong horse. You see, some people think revenge is about destruction, about tearing down what someone else built. But that's not revenge, that's vandalism. Real revenge? Real revenge is building something so much better, so much more successful, so much more ethical than what they stole from you that history forgets they ever existed. Darren Matthews was the CEO of BridgeSpark Industries for 18 months. I've been the founder of SparkBridge for 3 weeks, and we've already got more active users than his platform ever did. In 6 months, when people Google freelance collaboration platform, they'll find my story, my interviews, my platform. And Darren will be a cautionary tale in a business ethics textbook. Chapter 12, The Dangers of IP Theft in the Digital Age. Footnote 47. Former CEO currently works in retail management in Phoenix, Arizona. That's revenge. Cold? No. Perfect? Absolutely. And the best part? He still doesn't know it was me. He thinks Rebecca destroyed him. He thinks bad luck destroyed him. He thinks karma destroyed him. He never once suspected that his old gaming buddy Jeremy, the guy who was too niche and overthinking everything, might have had anything to do with it. And you know what? I'm going to keep it that way. Because the only thing better than revenge is revenge that your target never sees coming and never sees going. Sweet dreams, Darren. Game over.